Hey guys, welcome to Series World. Today I'm going to explain an erotic thriller series called Dark Desire from 2022. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The 10th episode opens with a little boy playing hopscotch in the rain. Like the game Hopscotch, Cortázar wanted his readers to read his book in whatever order they wanted so that the story could be understood in different ways. The scene changes to young Darío, who is recording Lise taking a shower. She gets up and closes the door of the bathroom. The scene changes to Esteban pointing a gun at Alma while they are both in Lisa's house. Even though Esteban doesn't know Lise, he followed Alma. Alma gets aggressive with him and Esteban tells her to check her belt. At the base of her spine, he has placed a tracker. It seems that Esteban has seen the recordings of Lise and Darío too, and he asks Alma about it. Alma replies that, in theory, Lise should be Dario's mother. The scene cuts to Lise, who is in the VIP stall with Darío. She tries to run away inside a stall from Darío, but he manages to enter too. Darío keeps pushing her to know Alma's location from her, but she keeps trying to make out with him. Darío tries his best to push her away while pressing her for Alma's location. Meanwhile, the lady officer also enters there following Darío and Lise. Darío realizes that someone else is there too, so he tells her to calm down, and they both walk out pretending to be a couple. The story comes back to Alma, telling Esteban how Lise and she met through their support group. From the first, it seemed like too much of a coincidence between her and Lise. Esteban is listening to her, but the recording of Lise and Darío being intimate is playing in the room, so she tells him to stop the video. Alma then reveals that Lise introduced herself as Dario's teacher, but Alma suspects that she is the widow of Alberto Guerra, and they adopted Darío when his dad committed suicide. Hearing this, a theory comes to Esteban's mind, and he starts looking in the medicine cabinet and inside Lisa's house to see whether he finds a match with the capsule he found on the terrace. While searching, Alma tells Esteban her theory about Dario's existence. From their previous discussion when investigating Darío, Esteban concludes that Dario's past is a mess. He also agrees that it can be counted as a possibility that there are two Darío. In the middle of their conversation, Leonardo knocks on the door looking for Lise. Esteban and Alma become quiet so as to not raise suspicion. After getting no response, Leonardo leaves the house. The scene changes to Zoe, who has gone to Mao's house with him to see the autopsy reports. She somehow manages to finally get her hands on the reports after dealing with Mao's flirting. She gets her answer in the victim toxicology report. Meanwhile, Esteban is asking Alma whose idea it was for her and Darío to run away to a different place and hide. Alma doesn't reply and Esteban doesn't bother. He cleans up after they are done eating and shows a DVD to Alma. When she asks what he's going to do with that, Esteban breaks it down that they have to connect Lise to the murderer of Julieta to prove Alma's innocence. Esteban and Alma then start listening to what Eugenia and the officers are discussing about Darío and Lise through the microphone. Because the officers don't know Lisa's identity, they address her as the woman. As a result, Esteban and Alma also don't know that they are talking about Lise. The officers are wondering whose accomplice Lise really is. They then talk about the escape plan they found in Alma's apartment. The detectives decide to take a break. Eugenia gives the lady officer named Ramos a call to get an update on Darío and Lise. Ramos informs her that they are heading to the apartment in Rio de Janeiro Square. Meanwhile, Lise and Darío are in her apartment. Darío asks her why she is looking for Alma. Lise explains to him that she wasn't looking for her. Instead, she found her. She asks him why he is so adamant in discussing Alma with her because she didn't even know they were in a relationship. Darío breaks it to her that he knows she talked about him with Alma. Lise explains as they are in the same therapy group, they share their experiences with each other, and that's how she knows. Darío warns her to not lie to him as he knows Lise has given his book to Alma. Lise confirms that she did, and might have talked about hopscotch with her too. Darío gets agitated hearing all of Lise's ramblings and pushes her to tell him Alma's location. Lise tells him that she really doesn't know. Darío then asks her the reason for running away from Mexico, and Lise tells him that it's to run away from him. She tries to make moves on him, and they share a partially forced kiss. The scene changes to Esteban and Alma. They both are watching the footage that Esteban collected earlier. Esteban tells her that this is the footage that made police believe she is responsible for this crime. He also asks her whether she noticed the drone that night on the terrace. Alma explains that as she was in shock at that time, she doesn't remember seeing that drone. She also adds that by the time she reached the terrace, Julieta's body was already in the water. Alma genuinely doesn't seem to know about the drone, and Esteban asks her whether it could be Darío who killed her. but Alma rejects this idea as he was unconscious the whole time. Esteban theorizes that maybe he did this by using help from Lise. Alma is frustrated and expresses that she doesn't know what Lise and Darío are up to, even though she is confused about Leonardo and why he was in Lise's apartment tonight. Esteban tries to calm her down and tells her to just rest for the night. While they are preparing to go to sleep, Leonardo is having flashbacks of what happened between him and Lise. The scene cuts to Lise undressing in front of Darío. But Darío makes it clear to her that this won't work on him and he's only staying here because he needs to find Alma. Meanwhile, Zoe is with Mao on his bed discussing the toxicology report, but soon it turns into some steamy action. The scene changes to young Darío and Lise making love while Alma is looking at them from behind the door. It turns out to be a dream when Alma wakes up in the morning. She finds Esteban saying his prayer. Meanwhile, Ramos wakes up in her car by a call from Eugenia. She asks Ramos about updates, and Ramos informs her that Darío hasn't left the apartment. Eugenia instructs her to keep her eyes on him. Jimenez comes to the office and greets Eugenia. She asks her whether he has any updates about Lise. Jimenez informs her that they have nothing, and even the facial recognition database has nothing about her. Eugenia tells him to inform her when they have any better information. Mendoza also comes with the call log of Julieta's phone. Eugenia is frustrated and asks him why they would need the call log when they have her phone. She tells him that what's important now is talking with Inigo. The scene changes to Karina and Zoe as Karina is questioning her about how her meeting went with Esteban the previous night. Zoe tells her that it went fine, and she's a bit sleepy from drinking wine. Karina is confused as she thought that Esteban doesn't drink anymore. Zoe gets frustrated from all her questioning but tries to calm her down. Meanwhile, Esteban is getting ready to go out. Alma asks him whether he'll be gone for a long time, and he replies that this kind of field work doesn't have a schedule. He tells her that food and drinks are in the fridge and she can eat them when she wants. Before Esteban leaves, Alma reminds him not to forget about Lucinda's suitcase, and also informs him that Garcia's mom gave it to Eugenia. She adds that they can find information about Darío, and whether he has any twins or cousins. Esteban suggests she forget about Darío and his clones for a while and relax. The scene cuts to Eugenia apologizing to Inigo for her behavior previously. Inigo asks her the reason behind calling him here again. Eugenia informs him that there's a new person of interest in the case, someone they don't know, but they are hoping he'll help them identify the person. She then shows a picture of Lise, and he tells her that it's the adoptive mother of Darío. Meanwhile, Lise is asking Darío whether he was there yesterday, how he knew where she was going and at what time. Lise tells him that there was a DVD playing containing some of their memorable moments. She thinks that he was the one who stole the DVD. Otherwise, someone else came to the house and stole the DVD, leaving everything else. Darío hears all of this but doesn't reply. He silently grabs the phone and the house keys and leaves the apartment. He locks the apartment too, so that Lise can't leave. Meanwhile, Alma is watching the DVD, and it also seems to be recorded in the DVD how Alberto caught Lise and Darío. The scene changes back to Inigo. He explains to Eugenia that Lise is Alberto Guerra's wife. They adopted Darío after Antonio committed suicide. After Antonio's death, Dario's grandfather, Cristobal Guerra, made Darío the sole heir. Cristobal Guerra was his client, and he suggested him to hire a trust firm in New York for the job. But before that, Alberto adopted Darío. Before Darío could collect the inheritance, someone else collected them. Darío came to Inigo to consult with him regarding this matter where he met Julieta. Meanwhile, Leonardo has gone to Lisa's apartment again. Lise tells him from behind the door to grab the keys from her next-door neighbor before Darío comes back. The scene cuts to Esteban, who is on the terrace of the hotel investigating where the light came from, which he saw in the video. Meanwhile, Darío notices Alma on the road. He starts to follow her. Flashbacks show Lise giving young Darío a book of Cortázar. She explains that this book contains writings about passionate love, obsession, and dreams. She's sure that Darío will like it. Flashback ends, and Darío calls out for Alma from behind. She faces him and gives him a big slap. She asks him about his relationship with Lise, and Darío tries to defend himself, saying it's his adoptive mother, and it was from years ago. Alma asks whether he is working with Lise to incriminate her, and Darío tries to convince her that that's not the truth. Meanwhile, Ramos has also followed them to the place. The episode ends with the police arresting Alma. To watch more explanations of these kinds of series, click on the videos on your screen. And don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last, thanks for watching.